Hello and welcome to the MakingRightChoices.com Introduction to the Administrator Role. My name is Jason Franklin and I'll be your guide through this tutorial. Now the first thing you'll need to do is log into the system using the email and password that was provided to you by the MakingRightChoices.com team. Once you're logged into the system, select the Administrator role from the upper right hand corner. Now the one thing I'd suggest is if you haven't become familiar with the Learner, Manager, Instructor, and Reporter role yet, I'd suggest reviewing those roles first before getting a handle on the Administrator role. So if you have reviewed those roles, great, let's go ahead and click Admin. And you can select from any of these tabs. Now any of these tabs are just shortcuts to actual tabs on the navigation bar of the Administrator role. But before we even take a step further, I want to make sure that you know about the how-to manual for the Administrator role. So every role within the system has a how-to manual that you can access. And to launch that manual, all you need to do is be signed in for a particular role. In this case, of course, we're signed in as an admin. And then we click the how-to manual link at the top of the page. The how-to manual is actually much more comprehensive than this video could ever be. And what's important about this document is that it is a living document. As we make updates to the learning library, we'll also make updates to the manual and post that. So this overview is meant to give you very basic information about your role as an administrator, whereas this manual is meant to give you the in-depth, deep dive of information you're going to need to support the users at your site. So it's important to note that every how-to manual's table of contents closely matches the navigation bar that appears at the top of that particular role's screen. So in this case, you can see that the navigation bar covers users, groups, catalogs, surveys, resources, etc. And the table of contents will match the same order in the navigation bar. So from users to groups, catalogs, surveys, resources, etc. So again, use this manual as your best friend to receive support on the system. And of course, if you need help beyond the manual, contact the MakingRightChoices.com web team. But let's go ahead and close out this window and return to the system. So again, I've already mentioned that there is a navigation bar at the top of the Administrator role screen. Let me tell you in brief about each of these tabs along the navigation bar. The Users page that we're already on is where you add, edit, delete, and import users. You can also view and edit user enrollments and transcripts, send welcome emails to users, and activate and deactivate users. This is probably one of the screens that you're going to use the most as an administrator, so I encourage you to go through the manual and really get to know this page. The Groups page is where you add, edit, and delete groups, adjust group properties, memberships, associations, and course catalogs, add and assign users to groups, as well as send welcome emails to groups. Now this page you'll use quite a bit as well, but not as much as the Users page. The Catalog page controls all the training within the system. It allows you to create, edit, and delete courses, classes, categories, and certificates. In fact, the sub-navigation bar allows you to add these courses and classes, manage content categories, and manage certificates associated with different courses and classes. So on the main catalog page, you can perform most course and class management functions using the icons next to each course. And you'll become very familiar with these icons as you do so. Now for the most part, your courses should be set up by the MakingRightChoices.com team or your master administrator if you have one of those. But if you have any questions about this, do contact us. You can, of course, also add your own courses and classes, but you will need to read the section in the manual on how to add courses if you want to do that. Let's move on to the Surveys page. Now, surveys are an excellent way to gather feedback about users' training experiences, their impressions of the training content, and any technical difficulties they may have encountered along the way. This system allows you to insert a survey anywhere within a course, but most of the time surveys are located at the beginning or the end of training. The Learning Library allows you to create original surveys using a combination of Likert rating scales, multiple choice questions, and text entry questions. Surveys can also be designed to provide specific follow-up questions based on a user's previous responses. The survey's main page lists all the surveys for your organization, and from here you can modify or delete existing surveys using the icons listed to the right of that particular survey. So if you have need to offer a survey in addition to the surveys that MakingRightChoices.com provides for your team and for your school, feel free to create one by clicking the Add Survey button and follow the directions in the manual. Let's move on to resources. The resources page is where you can upload supplemental training resources, documents, and web links, and make them available to all system users. Users can view, download, and print each resource from their resources page. However, the system does not track users' access of each of these resources. So keep that in mind. If you want to track when a user accesses a document, then you would want to insert that document into a catalog or the content area of the learning management system. Because this is just resources, this is just something you want your team to have access to. And this may be additional policies and procedures, it may be supplementary material, anything you want. But do go ahead and look at the manual on how to upload those documents, add resources links, or manage resource folders. Now let's move on to requests. The enrollment request page contains a list of all current enrollment requests from system users. The page tells you the requesting user's name, the course they want to enroll in, and the date and time of the request. Now, both managers and administrators are authorized to accept or deny enrollment requests. And if the user requesting enrollment has been assigned to a manager, then the request will go to the manager. However, if a user doesn't have an assigned manager, their enrollment request will come to you. Now, if you're only using the MakingRightChoices.com training, then chances are you're not going to have too many enrollment requests come in. However, this is part of the system that you should check now and then so you can approve or deny requests. And you can see that approving a request is as simple as pressing the Approve This Request button and confirming your choice to allow that user. At the same time, if I don't want Stuart Akers to take the HIPAA Basics training, I can deny that request. And the users will be notified by email whether this request has been approved or denied. Now, for whatever reason, if you want to view the request history, you can also do that. Let's move on to the help screen. As an administrator, all help requests from system users will come to you. You will receive an email notification of each help request. And this page is where you will manage those help requests. So the page will contain a list of all open and closed help requests. You can see here that I only have one help request that's open. If I want to get the details for that, I can click here. It'll tell me the exact request that was made. And then if I want to respond to that, I go ahead and click the respond link, and it's going to open up an email interface. From this page, you can type in a response to the user's request, and then you can decide if this ticket's going to be open or closed. And I'm going to go ahead and close this request as if I've responded well to the user, who happens to be myself. But you would go ahead and type in the response, you'd select closed, and by clicking submit, you'll automatically send an email to that user. Okay. Now, if that email request is sent successfully, you will receive the success notification, and by clicking the return button, you'll return to the main help request page. You'll see that I no longer have any help requests because I did select closed on that last help request. If for some reason I wanted to see a list of the other help items within the system, I'd click the View Closed Help Request button. This would present a list of everyone who I've helped in the system and who I've closed out their help responses for. If instead I wanted to respond to a user, I would simply leave the status as open and go ahead and send the email, and it would maintain their message in my open help requests on the main help request page. So let's move on to the system page. So as with many pages in the system, you can really make a mess of things if you're clicking around places where you don't need to necessarily be. The system page actually allows you to customize the functionality of your organization's learning library, and it's divided into 5 sections such as brands, the general settings, the email settings, help documents, and then at the bottom, survey integration. I'm going to invite you to review the manual so you can learn more about each of these settings, but just keep in mind that most of the time the only thing you're going to be doing on the systems page is accessing the email settings. The emails page allows you to customize the welcome emails, the course enrollment email, and the class session email that your users automatically receive from the system. To make any changes on this page, you'd simply type in the box, whatever you'd like, type in the email from space. After you make changes to this page, you simply click the submit button to continue. Now there's a lot of other things that can happen on the systems page, and I'm going to invite you to read the manual carefully before you access any of these portions of the Learning Library. So that about does it for a walkthrough for the administrator role. There is so much here, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed. So take it step at a time. Learn about the system as you need to learn about the system. And feel free to reach out to an administrator who happens to be above you for your organization, or directly to the MakingRightChoices.com web team. And I want to thank you again for taking this time to learn a little bit more about the administrator role. And from everyone at the MakingRightChoices.com team, thank you and happy training. Take care.